Hey, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well. Happy St. Patrick's Day if you're watching. Um, we are going to, I'm going to start reading Esperanza Rising in just a few moments. We'll read a little bit of that. You can see my daughter and wife behind me. They're doing first grade school at the dining room table. Bella, you want to wave? Okay. So anyway, I'm happy anyone who's joining us here today is joining us. Maybe if you can't join us live, you'll watch later on. Okay, I'm got a cup of coffee, so I'm ready to go, just like in school. Coffee, teach, repeat, it says. This is courtesy of Shayla, this mug, so thank you very much. So we're going to get started. So if you have your Esperanza Rising book home, you can follow along. Otherwise, you can just listen. We're on page 121. Las Almendras, which are almonds. Okay. So I'm going to pick it up from here. Occasionally, I may stop. I may ask some questions, and at that point, you can either comment in the live chat, or you can leave a comment on the video afterwards if you watch it later on. Okay. My neck hurts, said Mama as she massaged the back of her head with her hand. It's not my neck, it's my arms that are sore, said Hortensia. It is the same for everyone, said Josefina. When you first start in the sheds, the body refuses to bend, but in time, you'll get used to the work. Everyone had come home that night, tired and with various aches and pains. They gathered in one cabin for dinner, so it was crowded and noisy. Josefina warmed a pot of beans, and Hortensia made fresh tortillas. Juan and Alfonso talked about the fields while Miguel and Isabel played with the babies, making them squeal with laughter. Mama cooked arroz, and Esperanza was surprised that Mama knew just how to brown it first in the oil with onions and peppers. Esperanza chopped tomatoes for a salad and hoped no one would mention the sweeping. She was glad this day was over. Her bruises had been to her pride. Isabel took a fresh tortilla, sprinkled it with salt, rolled it up like a cigar, and waved it at Miguel. How come you and Tio Alfonso won't let me go behind the cabin with you? Shh, he said. It's a surprise. Why are you so full of secrets? Asked Esperanza. So I'm going to stop here. If you think that you know what the surprise is behind the shed, feel free to add it to the chat. I see Joey is in the chat. Hey, Joey, how you doing? Okay, if anyone has questions during the reading, you can throw them in there too, and I'll answer them as best I can. So if you think you know what the surprise is behind the shed, go ahead and share that with us. I'm doing well, Joey. Thank you. I'm doing well. Happy St. Patrick's Day. But neither Alfonso nor Miguel answered. They simply smiled while they prepared their plates. What are they doing? Demanded Isabel. Hortensia shrugged as if she knew nothing. Miguel came back just before sunset. Senora and Esperanza, we have something to show you. Esperanza looked at Mama. It was obvious. Mama was confused as she was. They all followed Miguel to where Alfonso was waiting. Behind the cabin was an old oval washtub with one end cut off. It had been set on its side, forming a little shrine around a plastic statue of Our Lady of Guadalupe. Someone had built a grotto of rocks around the base of the tub. Around it, a large plot of earth had been fenced in by sticks and rope and planted with thorny stems, each with only a few branches. Isabel gasped. It's beautiful. Is that our statue? Josefina nodded. But the roses come from far away. Esperanza searched Miguel's face, her eyes hopeful. Papa's? Yes, those are your papa's roses, said Miguel, smiling at her. Alfonso had dug circles of earth around each plant, little houses that made moats for deep watering, just like he had done in Aguascalientes. But how? Esperanza remembered the rose garden as a blackened graveyard. After the fire, my father and I dug down to the roots. Many were still healthy. We carried the cuttings from Aguascalientes, and that's why we had to keep them wet. So you'll remember they kept getting off the train when they were taking the train to California. They kept getting off the train to wet that mystery package. Well, this was what was in the package, the roses from her home that her papa had planted. We think they will grow. In time, we will see how many bloom. Esperanza bent closer to look at the stems rooted in mulch. They were leafless and stubby, but lovingly planted. She remembered the night before the fire when she had last seen the roses and had wanted to ask Hortensia to make rosehip tea, but she'd never had the chance. Now, if they bloomed, she could drink the memories of the roses that had known Papa. She looked at Miguel, blinking back tears. Which one is yours? Miguel pointed to one. Which one is mine? He smiled and pointed to the one that was closest to the cabin wall and already had a makeshift trellis propped against it. So you can climb, he said. Mama walked up and down, carefully touching each cutting. She took Alfonso's hands in her own and kissed him on the cheek. Then she went to Miguel and did the same. Muchas gracias, she said. Mama looked at Esperanza. Didn't I tell you that Papa's heart would find us wherever we go? I see we have 8 people who are with us right now. If you're with us and you are able to or you want to, say hello in the chat so we know who's here with us today. The next morning, Hortensia put a piece of fabric on the window and sent Alfonso next door with Miguel, Juan, and the babies. Hortensia, Mama, and Josefina brought in the big wash tubs and filled them half full with cold water. Then they heated pots of water on the stove and warmed the baths. Esperanza was excited at the idea of getting into a tub. All they had done since they arrived was wash their faces and arms with cold water in the sink. She hadn't had a real bath since she left Aguascalientes, but it was Saturday and tonight was the Jamaica, so the entire camp was getting cleaned up. Baths were being taken, shirts ironed, and hair washed and crimped. Hortensia had given Esperanza her baths since she was a baby, and they had an established routine. Esperanza stood near the tub with her arms outstretched while Hortensia undressed her. I'm going to pause just a second to yell at my daughter. Isabella! Mommy, she brought Max downstairs. Then, she got in the tub and tried not to wiggle while Hortensia washed her. She tilted her head back, keeping her eyes closed while Hortensia rinsed her hair. Finally, she stood up and nodded, which was Hortensia's signal to wrap the towel around her. Esperanza went to one of the wash tubs, put her hands out to her sides, and waited. Josefina looked at Hortensia and raised her eyebrows. Isabel said, Esperanza, what are you doing? Mama walked over to Esperanza and said softly, I've been thinking that you're old enough to bathe yourself, don't you think? Esperanza quickly dropped her arms and remembered Marta's taunting voice saying, no one will be waiting on you here. Yes, Mama, she said. And for the second time in 2 days, she felt her face burning as everyone stared at her. Hortensia came over, put her arm around Esperanza and said, we are accustomed to doing things a certain way, aren't we, Esperanza? But I guess I'm not too old to change. We will help each other. I will unbutton the buttons you cannot reach, and you'll help Isabel, yes? Josefina, we need more hot water in these tubs. Andale, hurry. As Hortensia helped her with her blouse, Esperanza whispered, thank you. Max, come here. I'm going to introduce everyone to one of my dogs. Max, come here. Okay. This is Max. Okay. If you look on our class Instagram, you'll see pictures of him yesterday. We found him with a box of Cheetos over his head. So it's a funny picture. So this is Max, and let's see if we can get Asha up here. Okay. This is Asha right here. She's the well-behaved one. All right, I see Ryan has joined us. Hey, Ryan, how you doing? Yeah, Joey, they're both cute, right? Max is a bit of a character. Asha just likes to sleep in different corners, but Max likes to he likes to be in everyone's business. I'm doing good to hear, Ryan. I'm glad you're doing well. Thanks, Joey. I love them too. All right, back to the book. Isabel and Esperanza went first, bathing in the tubs, then bending their heads over to wash their hair. Mama and Josefina poured cups of water over them to rinse off the soap. The women took turns going back and forth to the stove for hot water. Esperanza liked being with all of them in the tiny room, talking and laughing and rinsing each other's hair. Josefina and Hortensia talked about all the gossip in the camp. Mama sat in her slip and combed out Isabel's tangles. The women took their turns, and when Hortensia needed hot water, Esperanza rushed to get it for her before anyone else could. Clean and dressed, with still wet hair, Esperanza and Isabel went outside to the wooden table under the trees. Josefina had given them a burlap bag of almonds that she wanted shelled. Isabel bent over and brushed her hair in the dry air. "Are you coming to the Jamaica tonight?" she asked. Esperanza didn't answer at first. She had not left the cabin since she had made a fool of herself yesterday. Remember, that was the sweeping. "I don't know, maybe. My mama said it's best to get it over with and face people, and that if they tease you, you should just laugh," said Isabel. "I know," said Esperanza, fluffing her own hair that was already almost dry. She dumped the nuts onto the table and picked up an almond, still in its flattened pod. The soft and fuzzy outside hull looked like two hands pressed together, protecting something inside. Esperanza popped it open and then found the almond shell. She snapped the edge of the shell and pried it apart, and then pulled the meat from its defenses and ate it. "I suppose Marta will be there tonight?" "Probably," said Isabel, "and all of her friends, too." "How does she know English?" "She was born here. Her mother, too. They are citizens," said Isabel, helping shell the almonds. "Her father came from Sonora during the Revolution. They've never even been to Mexico." Sonora is one of the northernmost states in Mexico that borders the United States. "There's a lot of kids who live in the camp who've never been to Mexico. My father doesn't like it when Marta comes to our Jamaicas, though, because she's always talking to people about striking. There was almost a strike during almonds, but not enough people agreed to stop working. My mama says that if there had been a strike, we would have had to go into the orchard and shake the trees ourselves for these almonds. Then we're lucky. What is your mother making with these nuts?" "Flan de almendra," said Isabel. "She will sell slices at the Jamaica tonight." Esperanza's mouth watered. Almond flan was one of her favorite sweets. "Then I've made my decision. I will come." Has anyone ever had flan here? If you haven't, the best way to is sort of like a creamy Jello. It's kind of like Jello consistency, but it's creamier and different flavors. What's a picture of flan? There's a link in the chat there that'll show you a picture of flan. Last year I had if you know the shopping center where the post office is, there's a deli in that shopping center down near the coffee shop diner place there. And the parent of one of my students last year owns that deli. And so they make really good flan there. And he used to bring in pieces for me. Okay, the platform was lit up with big lights. Men from the camp in starched and pressed shirts and cowboy hats sat in chairs, turning their guitars and violins. Long rows of tables were covered in bright tablecloths. where women sold tamales, desserts, and specialties. And the specialty, agua de Jamaica, which is hibiscus flower water punch made with the red Mexican Jamaica bloom. There was bingo on wooden tables and a long line of chairs circling the dance area for those who wanted to watch. That's where Mama and Hortensia sat, talking to other women. Esperanza stayed close to them, watching the growing crowd. Where do all the people come from? She asked. The other night, she had heard Juan say that about 200 people lived in their camp, but there were many more than that now. These fiestas are popular. People come from other camps, said Josefina, and from Bakersfield, too. When the music started, everyone crowded around the platform, clapping and singing. People started dancing in the area around the stage. Children ran everywhere, chasing and hiding. Men held young boys on their shoulders, and women swaddled their infants, all of them swaying to the sound of the small band. After a while, Esperanza left Mama and the others and wandered through the noisy crowd, thinking how strange it was that she could be in the middle of so many people and still feel so alone. She saw a young group of girls who seemed about her age, but they were huddled together. More than anything, she wished Marisol were here. Isabel found her and pulled on her hand. Esperanza, come and see. Esperanza let herself be led through the crowd. Someone from town had brought a litter of kittens. A group of girls were crowded next to the cardboard box, cooing and cradling them. It was clear that Isabel desperately wanted one. Esperanza whispered to her, I will go and ask your mother. She wove back through the crowd to find Josefina, and when she agreed, Esperanza practically ran back to the spot to tell Isabel. But when she got there, a bigger crowd had gathered, and something else was going on. Marta and some of her friends stood in the bed of the truck that was parked nearby, each of them holding up one of the tiny kittens. This is what we are, she yelled. Small, meek animals, and that is how they treat us, because we don't speak up. If we don't ask for what is rightfully ours, we will never get it. Is this how we want to live? She held the kitten by the back of the neck, waving it high in the air. It hung limp in front of the crowd. With no decent home and at the mercy of those bigger than us, richer than us, Isabel trembled, her eyes in a panic. Will she drop it? A man called out, maybe all the cat wants to do is feed its family. Maybe it doesn't care what all the other cats are doing. Senor, does it not bother you that some of your compadres live better than others? Yelled one of Marta's friends. We're going to strike in 2 weeks at the peak of the cotton for higher wages and better housing. We don't pick cotton on this farm, yelled another man from the camp. What does it matter, yelled Marta, if we all stop working, if all the Mexicans are juntos, together, she made a fist and held it in the air, then maybe it will help us all. He yelled back, that is a chance we cannot take. We just want to work. That's why we came here. Get out of our camp. A cheer rose up around him. People started shoving, and Esperanza grabbed Isabel's hand and pulled her aside. A young man jumped into the truck and started the engine. Marta and the others tossed the kittens into the field. Then they pulled some of their supporters into the back of the truck with them and raised their arms, chanting, Huelga, huelga, strike, strike. Now, Esperanza wanting the kitten reminds me of Kirsty in Number the Stars. Remember finding the kitten at her uncle's? I see Nugget's made it. Hey, Nugget, how you doing? Nice to have you on. Happy St. Patrick's Day, Nugget. Marta's so mean, huh? You think so? Marta's an interesting character in this book. She sort of starts off as a bully towards Esperanza, but you're going to see both her and Esperanza develop in an interesting way over the course of the book. Why is she so angry? Asked Esperanza as she walked back to the cabin a few hours later with Josefina, Isabel, and the babies, leaving the others to stay later. Isabel carried the soft, mewing orange kitten in her arms. She and her mother move around to find work, sometimes all over the state, said Josefina. They work wherever there is something to be harvested. Those camps, the migrant camps, are the worst. Like when we were in El Centro, said Isabel. Worse, said Josefina. Our camp is a company camp, And people who work here don't leave. Some live here for many years. That's why we came to this country to work, to take care of our families, to become citizens. We are lucky because our camp is better than most. There are many of us who don't want to get involved in the strike because we can't afford to lose our jobs, and we're accustomed to how things are in our little community. They want to strike for better houses? Asked Esperanza. That and more money for those who pick cotton, said Josefina. They only get 7 cents a pound for picking cotton. They want 10 cents a pound. It seems like such a small price to pay, but in the past the growers said no. And now more people are coming to the valley to look for work, especially from places like Oklahoma, where there's little work, little rain, and little hope. If the Mexicans strike, the big farms will simply hire others. Then what would we do? Esperanza wondered what would happen if Mama did not have a job. Would they have to go back to Mexico? Josefina put the babies to bed. Then she kissed Isabel and Esperanza on their foreheads and sent them next door. Isabel and Esperanza lay in the beds listening to the music and the bursts of laughter in the background. The kitten, after drinking a bowl of milk, curled up in Isabel's arms. Esperanza tried to imagine conditions that were more shabby than this room that was covered in newspaper to keep out the wind. Could things possibly be worse? Sleepily, Isabel said, "Did you have parties in Mexico?" "Yes," whispered Esperanza, keeping her promise to tell Isabel about her old life. "Big parties. Once, my mama hosted a party for 100 people. The table was set with lace tablecloths, crystal, and china, and silver candelabras. The servants cooked for a week," Esperanza continued, reliving the extravagant moments, but was relieved when she knew that Isabel was asleep. For some reason, after hearing about Marta and her family, she felt guilty talking about the richness of her life in Aguascalientes. Esperanza was still awake when Mama came to bed later. A stream of light from the other room allowed just enough brightness for her to watch. Mama unbraid her hair and brush it out. "Did you like the party?" Mama whispered. "I miss my friends," said Esperanza. "I know, it's hard. Do you know what I miss?" "I miss my dresses." "Mama," Esperanza said, laughing that Mama would admit such a thing to her. "Shh," said Mama, "you'll wake Isabel." "I miss my dresses too, but we don't seem to need them here." "That is true, Esperanza. Do you know that I am so proud of you for all you are learning?" Esperanza snuggled close to her. Mama continued, "Tomorrow we are going to a church in Bakersfield. After church, we are going to una tienda called Cholitas. Josefina said she sells every type of sweet roll and Mexican candies. Una tienda means a store, like a market. They were quiet, listening to Isabel's breathing. "In church, what will you pray for, Esperanza?" asked Mama. Esperanza smiled. She and Mama had done this many times before they went to sleep. "I'll light a candle for Papa's memory," she said. "I'll pray that Miguel will find a job at the railroad. I'll ask Our Lady to help me take care of Lupe and Pepe while Isabel is at school. And I'll pray for some white coconut candy with a red stripe on top." Mama laughed softly. "But most of all, I'll pray that Abuelita will get well and that she will be able to get her money from Tio Luis's bank and that she will come soon." Mama stroked Esperanza's hair. "What will you pray for, Mama?" "I will pray for all the things you said, Esperanza, and one more thing besides." "What's that?" "I'll pray for you, Esperanza, that you can be strong no matter what happens." And that's the end of today's chapter. So I hope you enjoyed. I see Shayla's here. Hey, Shayla. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I'm drinking from a mug you gave to me. So it looks like we had 9 people today. So that's pretty good. That's fun. I hope everyone enjoyed today's chapter. So we'll do this every weekday till the end of this book. I'll read a chapter so that those of you following along can get the whole story. So before we jump off for today, is there anyone who has any questions either about the book or certainly about anything else? Anything school related or anything homeschool related or anything like that? Okay, so Mary. Yeah, Joey, I think we're going to do it the same time. So what we'll plan on is 11 o'clock each day, um, each weekday. All right. So um, we'll do 11 o'clock. And if for some reason I have to do it a different time one day, then I'll let everyone know either in Google Classroom or Instagram or texting your parents or maybe all three. So I do want to remind you, Google Classroom is a good place to go if you want to continue conversations. Let's see. I think I saw a few people commenting yesterday. Nugget and Madison Richter. Um, so yeah, and then certainly as I get any updates on anything, I will do my best to let everyone know. I know yesterday the governor said that all schools will be closed in the state until April 1st. So that's a couple days longer, I think, than 2 weeks. But we'll see what happens. But all right, well, let's see. Yeah, Joey. We are closed until we're closed until April 1st. Yeah, until any further notice. So as of right now, I guess that's when we'd go back, but we're gonna have to see what happens. Like we talked about in school, this is somewhat of an unprecedented situation. So we're just going to have to see what happens and kind of roll with the punches. Yeah, I know, Shayla. We're all trapped inside. But we'll do the best we can. It is hopefully everyone has a few different things to do. Does anyone have any other suggestions for things they would like live streamed? Like I'll read Esperanza, but are there other things you're interested in? Bacon? Yeah. Well, right now I have no bacon in the house. So also I am live streaming from a desktop, and I was reading you can't live stream from a mobile device on YouTube unless you have over 1,000 subscribers. And my desktop isn't able to catch what's in my kitchen. But maybe what I can do if I cook something fun, I'll videotape it and then just post it to YouTube, so you could watch that. Yeah, either that or go get me 1,000 subscribers. I think I'm at like 300 right now. So get me 1,000, and then I can start live streaming all my meals. Anyone else have a good breakfast today? Movie talk, so Caitlin, are you talking about movies that we've seen, or talk about the movie that we want to make? 3:30. Okay, both. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I think with our movie that we want to make, we're at a decent place. We have scenes written. We just have to start recording them now. And unfortunately, we have to all be together to do that. If any of our writing team is on right now, we can, definitely go ahead and write any of the scenes that you think need to be written. Oh, my movie room. Yeah, I can record the movie room, Joey. There's one thing that I have to do. There's one thing that I have to put up on the wall. And once I put that up, then it's going to be ready. I'm going to, maybe between today and tomorrow, I'll do that. And then I can make like a video tour of it to share with you all. Once you see this final thing that has to go on the wall, you'll understand why I have to wait. Mary didn't have breakfast. Okay. I didn't have breakfast yet either. Just coffee. Probably not a surprise to you. Yeah, Joey, I'm excited to show it to you. I started to watch The Rise of Skywalker in there yesterday, and then I fell asleep. So I will maybe finish that up today. What is everyone else up to? Some requests for breakfast, huh? How about pancakes or what Ryan put up there? Bacon and egg on a bagel sounds awesome. Joey's isolating in his room. Okay. I hope everyone's up. Isabella's back. You want to come here?
Back to school.
She has to get back to her schoolwork. Say hi, everyone. Look, see? This is all things that they're writing. Say
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day. Okay. Eat cheese, Joey says. Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. Is that what I should watch, Shayla? Oh, that's what you're reading. I got you. Okay, well, listen up, everyone. I'm going to jump off for now. So if you're free tomorrow at 11 o'clock, which I imagine most of you will be because nobody's allowed to go anywhere, then you can join us again for the next chapter, which is Plums. Okay. So you can join us again at 11 a.m. tomorrow. Also, feel free for anyone who wasn't here today, feel free to encourage them to join us tomorrow. It would be fun to have like as much of the class here as possible. All right. Okay, everyone. Have a nice day. I miss you all. Bye.
Do you want to sit in the pink chair?